What's going on, everyone? Mike Singer from Blue and Gold with a special guest today, Jay Drew from the Deseret News, who covers the BYU Cougars. Jay, really appreciate you joining us to get this insight of the BYU Cougars. Huge matchup for Notre Dame on Saturday, and I know it's a big deal for BYU as well. So, Jay, as we were talking before we started recording, Notre Dame opened up as a 2.5 point favorite in this neutral site game. And then as we were recording this Monday evening, lines jumped up to 3.5 or 4 points, depending on where you're looking at this line. Jay, so I'm curious just kind of what the overall sense is on the BYU side of things, whether that's media, the coaches, the fans going into this game, because they've got to think that they're the better team, but here they are coming in as underdogs.
Yeah, they know they haven't played well the last three games. They lost to Oregon by 3 touchdowns, and then they only beat Utah State and Wyoming by a couple touchdowns each. So they're not playing as well as they were playing when they beat Baylor. So I don't think a lot of BYU fans really put a lot of stock into, what the point spreads are. It's interesting, obviously, because the game's in Vegas this week and everything. But, I think Notre Dame carries a lot of weight. It's a big name program. And, ironically, when BYU played Baylor was number 9 in the country, and BYU was, I think, in the 20s, and BYU was favored, and BYU ended up winning. And then the next week, Oregon was favored, even though BYU had the higher ranking, and then Oregon easily won. So I think most people just take it with a grain of salt. They know it's going to be the hardest game on BYU's schedule, probably. That's what people have been saying since before the season started. And I don't think a lot has changed, especially after the way Notre Dame played the last couple of weeks.
So let's learn a little bit more about this BYU team. Offensively, what do Notre Dame fans need to know about what the Cougars will have on that side of the ball?
Well, BYU's best player is its quarterback, Jaron Hall. He's a fifth-year junior. This is probably his last year. He's a little bit older. I think he's 25. He's been on a 2-year Mormon mission. He's been phenomenal. Without him playing well this year, they're not 4-1. So that's where it all starts. They've had a lot of offensively, a lot of injuries. Their 2 top receivers have been out most of the season. They got Gunnar Romney, who had a lacerated kidney, back for this last game against Utah State, but they've been without Puka Nacua, a Washington transfer, who was their best receiver coming into the year. He played against South Florida, got hurt, missed a couple games, played against Wyoming, got hurt again, missed the Utah State game. He's questionable for Saturday. But that's kind of where their offense lies is Jaron Hall and those receivers.
And defensively, Jay, can you tell us about that unit?
Yeah, defense was supposed to be kind of the weakness, I guess, of the team this year. They struggled to stop the run last year, and they had almost every starter back. And that's frankly been their problem this year, is they haven't been able to effectively stop the run. That's why they lost the Oregon game. That's why they didn't blow out Utah State or Wyoming, because those teams played ball control, kept the ball from BYU's prolific offense. And so a lot of questions on that BYU defense, especially regarding being stout against the run.
Now, from your perspective, and you don't know Notre Dame as well as we do, because that's not the team you follow, but from what you know about Notre Dame, and obviously you know a ton about BYU, what do the Cougars need to do to beat Notre Dame?
I think defensively they've got to contain the new quarterback, but I think they just got to stop the run. They've just got to bow up. If Notre Dame rushes for over 200 yards on BYU, I don't think BYU can stay in the game with them. That's huge. Everyone saw what Notre Dame did to North Carolina. I think they rushed for almost 300 yards. So that is, I think, what it all boils down to. The key to the game is BYU being able to just basically slow down that Irish offense. I think offensively, I think BYU will be able to score some points, but I'm not quite sure yet if they can stop Notre Dame's offense.
In this age of all these high-flying offenses, it still boils down to running the ball and stopping the run. I love that. The over/under in this game is listed at 52.5 as we record this. I don't know. I'm kind of with you. I think this might be a rather higher scoring game. Would you agree with that, Jay?
Yeah, I think so, especially if BYU has a couple of question marks on offense. I already mentioned Puka Nakua. Their running back that emerged, a kid named Miles Davis. Yes, that's true. Just like the jazz musician's name, he got banged up a little bit in the Utah State game, so they'll need him to be back. They have a Cal transfer by the name of Chris Brooks, a fifth-year senior graduate transfer who's been hot and cold for them. They'll need a big effort out of him, but I think they'll be able to put some points on the board. That's why I think it's going to go over that total that you mentioned.
Do you have much in the way of a score prediction, Jay? It's early in the week as we record this, so I don't know if you're ready to give away your actual score prediction. But
Yeah,
any insight there?
I usually publish my own on Tuesday mornings, so I'll go something like 38-28 Notre Dame.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm leaning towards.
So there you have it, Notre Dame fans. I don't know if I'm predicting an Irish 10-point win. If Jay put me on the spot, I don't know if I would be able to give an answer for that just yet. But there you go. Jay Drew from the Deseret News covering BYU. Give him a follow on Twitter at Drew. Jay,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've seen a couple of games in South Bend between BYU and Notre Dame, and this will be obviously in Vegas will be a lot of fun. Should be a great time.
I mean, the fan base has to be looking forward to this game for years, right? I mean, this has to be. I mean, this is one I'm sure they're pretty excited about, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you know the history of the contract, BYU played 2 games there, and was supposed to get a return visit in Provo. And when Notre Dame did the ACC scheduling agreement, it kind of fell by the wayside. So yes, the only thing that could be better for BYU fans is if this game were in Provo, but that's 275 miles away, so they're going to have to settle for Vegas.
Just last thing, Jay, I'm sure you're expecting a big BYU contingent.
Well, Notre Dame controlled all but like 10% of the tickets from what I've been told. So I think it'll be a really large pro Notre Dame crowd just because BYU only got to sell, I think it was 5,000 tickets or something through their own website. So unless BYU fans are gobbling up the tickets off of Notre Dame's website, I think it'll be pretty much a Notre Dame home game.
Yeah, and of course, this is technically a Notre Dame home game in that Shamrock
Right.
series in the neutral field, Allegiant Stadium, where the Las Vegas Raiders play. All right, Jake, definitely appreciate your time today.
All right. Have a good one.